Hi, Casey. It's Tim Hogenbaum here, and I just wanted to give you another quick update for the month of July, all the way up to where we are now. So, it's been a great summer, a little bit delayed, wasn't as hot as other summers, but the last couple of weeks have been great. And we've done a lot of things as we've done this summer of connections. And so a couple things we've done so far. There's been so many things that we've done, but these are just a couple of things that we did in the last little while. We did the bike ride. It was a 40-kilometer bike ride. I was talking to people in the lobby, and they were saying I couldn't keep up. It was so hard and was so good at the same time. It was so good because we got together as a community and got to do life together. So it was amazing 40-kilometer bike ride through the Enderby Armstrong Valley and really just enjoying God's beautiful, beautiful creation. We also had a hike with 14 people through the hills of Trunkiel Creek, getting through the loop and just seeing nature for what it was there. So yeah, it was just a great time to connect as a family, as a church. We were talking just the other day about how well received and how many people have come out for these things and how good it's been for our church to connect in this way. And so we're actually thinking about, hey, what does it mean for us to do it again next summer? So thank you, church, for engaging. Thank you, church, for being part of what we're doing here and helping us make Jesus known. We also, this past month or so, we helped out at the Mount Paul Community Food Bank, and it was just really neat to get our hands into being in the community and helping the community with respect to food, and that's all involved there. So it was such a great event. It was, what does it say? Yeah, just just helping with the very tangible needs of our community and being involved. And so that excites me. That excites me because that's the church on mission, is to do something practical like that. So that was so cool. And again, it's one of those things where it's like we learned a lot of neat things from that. And now what's the next one look like? So be ready and watching for that in terms of how we can be the hands and feet of Jesus in Kamloops. So that was the Family Mount Paul Community Food Center. Again, you can see Cody, he's supervising, doing a fantastic job on that. But it was a great event, and my kids were doing smoothie testings. So just church, this is what it means to be in community, knowing Jesus and making him known. As we've been doing the last little while, we have the opportunity just to maybe step back a little bit and invite you into some of our staff members and into their lives, into their story, and kind of who they are and what they do. And so we're just going to break out here and just talk to Christine in terms of what her role is here at KAC and how she goes about doing it. And then we'll come back and talk about financials. Hey, Casey, this is Tim again, and I'm here with my friend Christine Raymer. Now, I actually have to stop and say Christine Raymer because I rarely say that name. I always say Cricket, which I have to ask, why do we call you Cricket?
So when I came on staff 8 years ago, there were 3 Christines on staff. And so they asked what my nickname was. And so my husband had called me Cricket. And so that became my new KAC name.
And so are you okay with us calling you Cricket? Like, is that completely okay?
Yes. So because it was Cricket for so long,
yeah.
I actually don't even hear the difference. So Cricket, Christine, it's interchangeable,
really? Okay.
And I don't even know the difference.
So should these wonderful people see you for the first time, they can absolutely say Cricket?
They absolutely can.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So Cricket, you work on staff here, and you've worked here for as long as I can remember. What do you do on staff? What is your job? What do you do? What fills your day? What do you do?
So currently I hold 2 roles.
Yeah.
So I'm the hospitality director, and I'm also the communications coordinator.
And real briefly, communications coordinator does what? Like, what is that? What's in that scope?
So as communications coordinator, I sort of oversee all communications, both internal and external for church-wide for KAC.
And what about the host director? What does that look like?
So host director, so I am building the KAC host teams. I'm recruiting, training volunteers, overseeing the weekend experience for people as they come through our doors, helping with organizing and just overseeing the larger events like kickoff, ministry fair, Christmas connections, special services, that kind of stuff.
why are you here? Like what got you to your role here? What's the passions? What are the drivers? What do you bring to the table? Why you?
So my greatest passion is creating places and spaces for connection, for people to experience community, for people to experience the love of Jesus, for people to be able to feel seen, heard, known, and loved and cared for.
So your domain really is outside the doors of the sanctuary, all the way to the parking lot and back. It's that experience of what do people feel like when they first walk through the door.
That's right.
And what's the greatest joy that comes from that? Like when things are going amazingly, what are you watching? What's your dream? What's your vision for that role?
So I love seeing people connect. Like when I see people connect over coffee or just mingling in the foyer and just building intentional relationships and seeing people support each other and care for each other and just that authentic, genuine love of Jesus being modeled through our church as newcomers come through the door and within our church as people are community together and just are loving each other as Christ has called us to love each other.
So tell me a little bit about your story, kind of how your walk with Jesus came to be and how you grew up, and just maybe frame that a little bit for us. Like what's your journey look like?
Yeah, so I grew up knowing Jesus, and I had a surrogate grandfather who taught me to walk with Jesus, and we would go for walks, 5-kilometer walks almost every day during the summers, and he would just talk with Jesus. So Jesus became very real to me. It was never just this thing that we did. It was just very personal to me. And so from a young age, I learned to walk and talk with Jesus. And it's funny because as a kid, I would often walk down the street with my hand held out because I knew Jesus was holding my hand. And so it's funny because even as an adult, there are times where I will walk with my hand held out because I just know that Jesus is walking with me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I guess as you kind of have your kingdom, if you will, of the foyer, and you're kind of seeing all that come together, and you're training volunteers, and you're bringing people together. 5 years from now, what gets you excited about that role, and how does it intertwine with that Jesus part? Like, tell me about 5 years from now.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now we have an incredible team of host volunteers. We have people who've served for decades, and they just love our church so well, and they seek out new people, and their heart is for people to feel seen and loved and cared for, and so it's just amazing. And since COVID, we've had a lot of new volunteers, which is really amazing and lots of excitement. Currently, we have 64 host team volunteers, which is amazing.
Yeah.
To fill our host teams each weekend, we need 30 people each weekend. So I would love to see that team grow to almost 100. I think that would just be amazing. We don't want anyone to come through our doors and get missed or fall through the cracks. And so I think it would be great to just be able to reach out more and be more intentional. I would love to see our church, and I know a lot of our congregants already do this, but to just see KAC as our home. And so as we look at KAC as our home, we would treat it the same as we would in our house. So as we see people come in, that we would reach out, whether we're serving in an official role or not, that we would just look for the person who, maybe looks like they're new or looks like they just need a friend or somebody to connect with them. And so I think I'm excited for what God's going to do this fall and in the coming years. I think there's a lot of excitement about what God's doing in Kamloops. And as we've come out of these last couple of years, just the excitement around what's next and how God's calling us. And so I'm excited for more people to rise up and to experience the joy that God gives us as we use our gifts to further his kingdom.
Yeah, so often hospitality is seen as just simply a greeter at the door. But it's so much more than that, right? And I think especially coming out of COVID, where relationship is at such a premium, because it couldn't be found for so long. I think, what role do we play to be compassionate, to be caring? and then to make people feel welcome. It's one thing to give them a bulletin when we did give bulletins and say welcome. Right. It's another thing to actually engage and to care and have compassion and ask, right. and to really make people feel as though they are in a space that's a safe space, right?
Right. Yeah, and coming out of these last couple of years, we want to be a safe place for people to land. And so as people are coming back who maybe haven't been here throughout COVID, or as people are just searching, it's been a difficult season for so many people in different ways and to varying degrees. And so I think it's just so important, our role, to just welcome people and to just be the hands and feet of Jesus and to see people and to ask the Holy Spirit to lead and guide us as we connect with people, that we wouldn't just, say hello, but we would actually begin a conversation and invite them into our lives and into our community.
Yeah. Just as we kind of wrap up, what's your call out, or what's your message to our congregation, KC staff? I know we've talked a lot about having compassion and being a church of that cares and engages. What are you asking us to do overall? Like what should we be taking away from this conversation?
First of all, I would say thank you to KC, because I feel like we are a church that loves well. I've heard over and over from people how welcomed they've felt, and I know our family felt that from the minute we arrived here. KC felt like a home, not just a church. And so I would just say, let's continue to love well and to look for opportunities. We have our kickoff coming up September 10, 11. So there's lots of opportunity to serve there. And if people are interested, they can sign up at kamlifts.com/kickoffserve. There's lots of opportunities to join the host team. And so, I think just, if you're not already serving, begin exploring and just try something, or begin a conversation with somebody to see where God might be leading you. And there's so much joy in serving. And I would love to see people serving in all demographics in our church and across all ages. And so I think it would be great to see a lot of young families, stepping up to serve. There's so much joy in doing that. Our family has served together in F56 this last year, and it's incredible to serve alongside your kids, to watch them grow in their gifts and begin to explore how God might have wired them. And so, it's just such a joy. And so I'd love for people to begin to explore that more.
Cricket, and I've said this so often to you, thank you for serving so well. You're amazing to have on staff, and you love Jesus so much, and everything comes back to how do we make Jesus known. And so thank you for serving well. Thank you for being on staff, and we so appreciate everything you do.
Oh, thanks, Tim.
Okay, talk soon.
Okay.
And now to wrap this up, yes, if you have any questions, I had people ask me the other day going, why don't we have lines on our parking lot? Or why is there somebody running around with a camera on Sunday morning? I've addressed those topics, but that means that if a couple of people have those kind of questions, there's probably other people that have questions around what's happening in the building and why do we do this and why do that. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at timh@kac.ca. All right, so talking about financials, this is the exciting part. Now, some people ask, why do we talk about financials? Why even take the time to have this conversation? And some of you have no interest in this, and that's fine. But to some people who we just really want to invite them into what's happening and have full transparency what happens in our financials. And it's true that every year we send out the budget and the financials for AGM, and they get voted on. And so that's part of it. But we just want to bring you alongside and month by month just kind of see how things are progressing and where things are at, so that we're fully transparent into kind of the goings on of what happens here. So as of this month, so it's our first month in, we're sitting in a total revenue of, we budgeted for $150,000 and we actualized $140,000. The expenses were budgeted at $115, just over, and we actually came out at $105. So our giving was a bit lower than expected, I think about 96% of what we expected, but our expenses were lower as well, so we pretty much came out exactly where we had planned. So thank you, church. Thank you for engaging in this such important part of the Christian journey. So giving trends for the year, again, we're just getting started here, coming through. So not a whole lot there, other than to say that our giving to general was 114 and the actual giving to general was 110. Now you're going to say, why do those numbers look differently than those numbers? And again, that's because when we're talking with the general is really what keeps the lights on, what keeps ministries going, what pays salaries, what does the maintenance on the building, what does events for ministries. Those are the things that the general encompasses. This number, that number encompasses all giving. So that's missions giving, and that's giving for the Lackby family, and that's giving for Ukraine, which, by the way, I just want to quickly give an update. So year to date for Ukraine, we have been able to, donations still kind of start trickling in. And so far year to date, well not year to date, but so far for the campaign, church, KAC, we have donated $38,000 to Ukraine, which is such a blessing and such a show of generosity for KAC. So church, well done. So good, so absolutely good. Okay, so abbreviated version for this as we get going in the new fiscal year. Church, this year as we looked at this budget for next year, we looked at and tried to figure out, Lord, what are you calling us to do? And where do you want us to do ministry? And what does ministry look like? And we took that budget and we said, Lord, we're to meet all this and to do what we believe that you're asking us to do, we're believing for a 6% increase in giving. So church, this year, what we're believing for is that God would provide for us and provide that the increase for this year over last year is given by 6% so that we can do the ministry, we can do the good work of making Jesus known and knowing Jesus. So church, thank you for tuning in again this month and so appreciate you joining us and we'll talk soon. Bye.